How we doing, everybody? We are here to talk about Bad Boys for Life. Bad Boys. Not going to sing it. So this will be a non-spoiler review. I just kind of want to go over some of the aspects of the film, surprising, and I just want to give you my general review. So surprisingly, this is the thing I found surprising, was that the film was directed and written by most people that have no credits. So the directors are, I would say, Middle Eastern of some side. I can't say their name. Adil El Aribi and Balil Fala. But I looked at their credits and they've done pretty much nothing. How they got, of course, now this film would solidify their career. But how they got this film, I will never know. But even the writers, okay, so Chris Bremer, he's done nothing. But Peter Craig has. He's done The Town and Mockingjay and stuff like that. So that part makes sense. But the rest of it does not. But either way, I have to say that I was very, very impressed with this film. It was lots of fun. I really enjoyed the other movies as well. But I think a lot of the reviewers have said the same thing, that a lot of the villains in the other films have not been memorable. Where here, I think the plot took a lot of twists and turns, and I didn't see a lot of them coming. In fact, there was one bullet shot that physically made me jump out of my seat. In all the action films I've ever been to, that has never been the case, where I was suddenly shocked by a bullet shot in the middle of a scene. So, with that being said, let's talk about the plot a little bit, because I'm not going to go in too deep into the plot, because I want to keep you guessing what's happening from one minute to the next. But we go back into the fact that these guys have now gotten older, but they still have the same differences in their personalities as before. So you have one that's the family guy, and the other guy that's the rebel without the cause, who just wants to live life the way he wants to live it, and maybe he's shying away from the family thing as much as he possibly can for whatever reasons, but he is nonetheless. So that's Will Smith's character, and then Martin Lawrence is the family guy, who's now even more into into his family because of the fact that his daughter is getting married, and she's having a baby. So with that being said, now there's a whole bunch of assassinations happening, and they're trying to investigate it because it gets kind of personal. And that's about all I'm going to say for the plot. And it's a generic plot, but the events that happen within it are not generic, as far as my opinion. So, and that's what makes this film, I think, better than some of the others. The acting for an action film is off the charts. I mean, the emotional scenes that were in there were amazing. I mean, of course, it's all in the script, but it also comes from the directing. So the script has some really, really powerful moments in it. So the action feeds off that. So it's not just action for action's sake, which is what I really like about it. And so all the stakes are high, and it really, I think, really pulls through to the point of being an action movie that sets itself as differently from other action films. And so, John Wick, it's very, very action-packed, but in some cases, it's just action for action's sake. But where the stakes were high, and the characters all had a role to play and an opinion to play in the events leading up to that action. And that's what I found really powerful in it. So as far as the actors are concerned, and what I got to say about also what I like about this, so it had a lot of different races in it. It had a lot of different genders in it. And not once did it come off and say, oh, women are better than men. Women do it this way. Women, 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 women. It wasn't in there. None of that was in there. But yet, the women are very, very powerful in this film. They hold their own, and it's a partnership. So thank God for that. And as far as there's different races in here, so there's African American, there's white, there's Latina, because most of them are Latino and Latina. So there's all these different cultures that are in there, and nobody is putting anyone else down. Nobody's better than anybody else. Of course, we have villains and stuff like that, but the Latins are still also good guys. So it's not specific to any particular race. And I love the fact that it wasn't preachy, which is where Hollywood is just the get woke, go broke thing. Thankfully, did not invade this film. So, yet it had that culmination of everything in it, but it wasn't preachy, and they decided just to make a good movie rather than have an agenda. So, thank God for that. Thank you guys for just making a good film and still having that melting pot in it without drawing attention to it. So let's talk about the cast. Well, first of all, Michael Bay did not direct this, though some of the scenes looked like they were directed by Michael Bay, like an homage type of thing. I think they wanted kind of like a TV show where you get a Bible and the directors are forced to go off that with each episode kind of has its own look and feel, but it's still along the same lines as all the other episodes. And that's how we felt here, was that there was some Michael Bay isms in there just to keep all three of them in that same grouping. But he was in the film. He actually plays an extra in the film. And I started laughing, and I think that everybody else in my row looked over at me, not knowing why I was laughing, because I guess they didn't recognize him, but I know what he looks like. In fact, a lot of my friends worked, back when I was in Florida, worked on Bad Boys 2 when they were shooting down there. I think this one plus shot in Miami too, but I don't think anybody I know was working on it. So anyway, Will Smith and Martin Lawrence shine galore. And again, each one of them had their own thing, their own personalities, and they did very, very well latching on to their character and keeping that character throughout. Now, as far as the females were concerned, the female action stuff is phenomenal. I really had a good time with that, especially Vanessa Hudgens, who now shows that she can be a female action star and get away from all of this romantic films that she's doing for Netflix, of which she's also producing. But hey, try to do some action. Vanessa, you did a great job. I bought it, even though you're 5'0". I bought it. I think you did a great job, and you look very comfortable carrying weapons and giving commands. So kudos to you. Joe Palatino's back. Paula Nunez. Okay, so she hasn't done much in the States either, but she and Kate Del Castillo, the double L's. They were in the same mob TV show. I forgot what it's called, but anyway, they were in the same show. So that's probably why they're both in it. So, again, the cast was great, and it was great to see Alexander Ludwig, who I'm a big fan of. Man, you may not figure out who he is, but if you watch Vikings, he is a star in Vikings, and he is absolutely wonderful. And here, he played a completely different character up till the end. So he doesn't do much action until the end, and he's really, really good. I like him a lot. I like a lot of the cast of Vikings. I think they did a great job. So anyway, that's basically the cast, because Martin Lawrence and Will Smith are working for another team with this. They're still cops. They're working for a different kind of a set-aside team that they're cooperating with, kind of like a task force. But this is a task force that's supposed to go on continuously, called AMMO, and I forgot what the anagram means, but that's what it was called. But that's really all I want to say about the film. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it had a lot of depth. I thought it had a lot of memorable scenes in it, and I think that this film is even more memorable than most of the other. The action scenes, like the action scene from Bad Boys 2 with the cars all flying, there isn't really one like that where it's over the top. There are a couple of over the top scenes, of course, but it doesn't. There's no huge scenes. In fact, this budget for this film is less than the budget for Bad Boys 2. And I think that's because they didn't know if they were bringing these characters back and people would want to see them. And I think that these directors were not, since they were newer directors, they didn't want to give them a pile of money like Michael Bay. Okay. So Michael Bay, let's talk about Bad Boys 1 before I wrap this up. So there's a scene in the beginning of the film where, in Bad Boys for Life, where Martin Lawrence opens the car door, because the character of Mike, which is Will Smith's character, is rich. So he has this Porsche or whatever, and he opens the door and he hits a fire hydrant. That was an homage to the first film. But if you didn't know about the how the first film was made, then it probably wouldn't have made any sense to you. It's funny, but it's not as funny as if you knew what happened with the first film. So in the first film, they didn't have any money. It was $23 million. That was some tiny amount of money. So when they had not rented this car, the car was loaned to them in the first film. So because again, $23 million is not a whole lot you can do as far as getting expensive toys. And Martin Lawrence, when he opened the door, he hit the fire hydrant accidentally. It was not in the scene. It wasn't supposed to be funny. He did it accidentally. And Michael Bay walked out going, "What are you doing? What are you doing? I got to return this car. I don't have the budget to fix it." So in this movie, they made a joke about it by actually doing it in the film. So I thought that was interesting. The other thing was, if you get a chance to watch anything on behind the scenes of Bad Boys 1, they ran out of money shooting the end of the film. And the line producer said, "Okay, wrap it up. We're done. We're out of money. That's it." He's like, "What? This is the final scene. This is the scene with the bad guy." And I remember Michael Bay was not big at that point. That was him getting big at that point. So when he was doing this film, this was like his thing. I mean, as a director, this was his proof of life for being a director. So when they cut it, he said, I have to shoot the ending. I have to. This is where the bad guy dies. I have to do this. And the line producer's like, "No, you don't have the money. That's it. We're done. We'll make it out of what we got." And Michael Bay's like, "Well, how can I do this?" He's like, "Well, we have to push the crew. And when you push the crew, that means you put them into overtime. That's what that means." So he basically was going to extend the day out beyond 12 hours. A 12-hour day is a normal shoot day. So he says, "Well, how much is it to extend the crew?" And I forgot what the number was. It was like $20,000, or it was like huge amounts of money. And Michael Bay said, "I'll cover it. I'll cover the money." So he wrote the check, and he actually, I'll try to find a picture, but he held the check up to the camera. So he had an actual proof of the fact that he gave the company the money. And they finished the scene, and he said it took, after the movie had made buku money in the box office, he still didn't get his money back. He had to wait months to get his money back. Anyway, I just wanted to, I think it's a cute story, and shows, a lot of people, say bad things about Michael Bay, and I know that he's a hothead, but come on, how many directors would have come out of pocket to finish their own movie? Not many. So anyway, that's, if I was going to rate this movie, it's got to be like an 8.5. It was close to 9. It was really, really good, and I definitely suggest seeing it, especially if you're a fan of the others. If you're not a fan of the others, I still recommend it because I thought it was really good. All right, have a good one, and I'll see you on the next one. Remember to subscribe, hit the little bell, tell your friends and family, and I'll see you soon.